Hey everyone. So I find this part is the most fun part of the course and the most interesting part. So in this section, we will learn about sand fabric and what the sand fabric is and what are the components that makes a sand fabric. So we will be learning about each of these components, but at the end we will be having an overview picture of all of these components working together, as well as a few hands-on demos on hardware devices. Like we will be exploring a host, a server, to see the different hardware components attached to it that makes it able to be connected to SAN fabric. We will also have a look at a SAN switch and also a SAN storage. Great. Okay, so in this section we will be discussing the HBA. We have already had some talk about HBA, but we will have more details in this section. What are the different fiber optic cables that you may use? What is a SAN switch? What is a SAN storage with more details? What's the difference between pool, aggregate, and the LUN? So what is a pool and what is an aggregate, and so on. So let's start. Okay, so first point is about the HBA, and the HBA stands for Host Bus Adapter. So HBA is needed. It's a piece of hardware similar to this. So it's needed to connect our server or our computer in general to SAN fabric to be able to access a LUN. We will learn more about LUNs in the coming slides. To access a LUN in a SAN storage. Great. So again, this is a PCI hardware. This is PCI adapter. Okay, and it could have multiple ports like these. So this is called a SFP module. So the SFP module is a piece of hardware. Actually, it's a transceiver it's used to connect to the SAN fabric. So you attach the fiber optic cable to any of these ports, okay, and it starts transmitting and receiving signals or storage packets, in this case, to and from SAN storage. So it transmits using laser beams, okay, and the SFP comes in different speeds, like 4 gigabits per second, 8, 16, 32, and the most recent one is the Gen 7 HBA cards, comes with 64 gigs of speed. You can no longer buy hardware in 4 or 8 gigs, so these are a bit old now, but you could still find them on eBay. But for business, for brand new hardware, it starts with 16 gigs. Great. And the most famous fiber channel HBA manufacturers are QLogic, Emulex. So Emulex is now owned by Broadcom company. Broadcom it's a huge company, and it also owns the Brocade SAN switches company. Okay, also the Eto. Eto is famous when it comes to producing the hardware related to the metro cluster configuration. We will learn a bit about storage metro cluster here in this course, in other lectures later in this course. Okay, we have another type of HBA. So the previous one was the FC HBA, and usually when you say just HBA, it means fiber channel HBA. Usually it doesn't mean other types of HBAs, but there is another type of HBA actually, which is the ISCSI HBA, which is used to which is used for the ISCSI protocol type of storage. So it's nothing but an Ethernet card, but it's used specifically for ISCSI, so it's dedicated for the ISCSI traffic. But actually, I've never dealt with it in production. I've never used it or knew that anyone is using any of these pieces of hardware. So we usually use traditional network interfaces for both network traffic as well as ISCSI. But again, the most stable protocol for storage is the fiber channel protocol. So ISCSI, it's a bit, when it comes to the hardware cost, it's a bit cheaper than fiber channel, but not that much. So it would be better for you to invest in fiber channel products in general. Great. Okay, here's another part that could contribute in the SAN fabric and could help the server to get connected to the SAN network, or the storage network, I mean, which is the CNA, and CNA stands for Converged Network Adapters. So we have already had a look on it before, but let's have another look with more detail. So the CNA, actually, it's a physical card similar to the fiber channel HPA. You can't differentiate them unless you read the details or that are written on the stickers. So it's similar to a fiber channel Ethernet card or to a fiber channel host bus adapter for storage. Great. So this physical card actually has two virtual cards in it. So this card could serve both protocols. It could serve as a storage card or a storage adapter, a fiber channel HBA, I mean, and also an Ethernet adapter in the same card using the same physical fiber optic cable. Okay, but the traffic will be segregated again in the network switch. So the traffic goes out of your server encapsulated either in a storage packet or a Ethernet packet. Okay, and actually the fiber channel data or the fiber channel frame is encapsulated. We will see this in an upcoming slide. Okay, encapsulated in an Ethernet frame, in an IP frame, okay, in the same cable, and a specific type of network switches. Network switches could segregate the traffic, like the Nexus, the Cisco Nexus 5K. So it's flex fabric switches that could serve both Ethernet and storage, fiber channel storage traffic. Okay. Great. So let's have a look on the different types of fiber optic cables. So there are two main types of fiber optic cables: the single mode cable and a multi-mode cable. Okay. So we could transmit storage traffic over both types of cable. So a single mode cable could transmit the data over long distances, actually across cities maybe, okay, for very, very long distances. And the core of the cable, so this is the core where the light is transmitted. The core, as you can see, it's very narrow compared to the other cores for the traditional cables used in your data center. So again, this type of cables is used for cross-site connectivity, and the SFP modules used are a specific type of modules. We will have a look on SFP in the upcoming slide. Okay, so the SFP used with the single mode cable should be of type called long wave, or LW transmitters, transceivers. Sorry. So long wave is used. Long wave transmitters or long wave SFPs are used with single mode cables. Okay, so you can't use the other type of cables with it. Okay, and inside your data center or inside your building, you could use the multi-mode cable. So it runs for shorter distances than the single mode cable, and it uses the most common types of SFPs, which is the shortwave or SW transmitters or transceivers or SFPs. Great. So this is a SAN switch. These are the cables hooked to it, and this is the most common cable used for storage and also for Ethernet inside your data center. And with this jack type, so this jack type is called LC. So it has LC on both ends. So this cable is called LC cable. Right, here we go. Let's have a look on the fiber channel connectors or transceivers. So this is, again, this is the SFP module that fits in your HBA card. Okay, so it comes in different speeds again. So mostly this type, the SFP, is used for storage, and it's also used for Ethernet, but not the same SFP. So if this SFP is for fiber channel, so it transmits only storage traffic. If it's an Ethernet SFP, then it's used only with for Ethernet traffic. And if it's used for both fiber channel and HBA, and also Ethernet, then I think it requires a specific type of SFPs to transmit both traffics, the storage as well as Ethernet. There is also another type of transceivers, which is the QSFP. It's a bit wider than the traditional SFP. So the QSFP, actually, it's a quadro SFP. So this one has a single connection, and that one has up to 4 connections, meaning that the speed starts from 40 gigs up till 100 gigabits per second for a QSFP, according to the model specifications. Okay, but again, so you could transmit, you could use the same SFP with the same speed on both ends of the cable. So by this, you will have a speed up to 40 gigabits per second, either for Ethernet or storage. Okay, and you could also use it. You could divide the connection of this port to 4 ports. So you could divide this 40 gig into 4 ports, and each has a speed of 10 gigabits per second. There are some types of cables. The cable that is used with the QSFP is called the MPO cable. Okay, MPO. So the MPO cable has a MPO jack or a plug that fits in this SFP, and the other end could have also another MPO connector, or it may be in a fan-out type and has 4 LC connectors that could fit into 4 SFPs. So it's a mega connector. Nice. Let's have a look on the SAN switches. So you actually, in medium-sized SAN environments, you can't connect the initiators. What is an initiator? The initiator is your server or your computer that requires access to storage. Okay, you can't connect it to a SAN storage, which is a target, without a SAN switch. So theoretically, you could directly connect your server to your SAN storage, but it depends on or it has a limitation when it comes to the ports that you have on each side. How many physical fiber channel ports do you have on your SAN storage? So if you connect the server directly to the SAN storage with a back-to-back connectivity, then you will run out of ports and you will no longer be able to connect more servers to the SAN disk array or the same SAN storage. So in this case, you would need a switch. So it has a similar functionality as the network, the Ethernet, the traditional Ethernet network switches. It's the same. So you connect all of the devices that you want them to connect to each other. And the benefit also is that you could divide or group the ports as you do in a traditional network switch, where you could create VLANs and group the ports according to some VLANs. So the devices in some port groups cannot access devices in other port groups that is a member of another VLAN. And it's the same case with SAN networking. So in SAN networking, we have another term. It's zoning. So a zone is a bit similar to VLAN when it comes to the concept. So we create zones in a SAN switch to segregate the traffic, more likely to have a security boundaries. Okay, great. So, and also if you have multiple SAN storage systems, how could you connect your server to all of these? You will need to add more network, you'll need to add more HBA cards to your server, which is, it's gonna end up with a limitation anyway. So you will need a SAN switch, or maybe more SAN switches, like you may need at least 2 for the high availability. Okay, we will learn more about HA in the upcoming slides. Okay, so and we will have a short demo in this section about SAN switches and SAN storage as well. So the most famous companies that produce SAN switches are Brocade. Okay, Brocade and Cisco. So Cisco has the Nexus 5K, for example, and I think they have other models as well. They have this is considered not really a recent model, but it's what you could buy these days. Okay, and also Brocade has a huge family of models. Also, these are huge switches from Brocade. It's called Director, SAN Director, which is similar to a core switch, like the Nexus 7K and 9K. Okay, these are the Gen 7, switches from, or the Gen 7 directors from Brocade, and it has a speed of up to 64 gigabits per port. Great, so that's it for this lecture, and in the coming lecture we will have a look on SAN storage systems. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and I hope this has been informative. Goodbye.